middle part of Vermont, central part of Vermont. And there's a fish store market in Maplewood that supplies over 40 restaurants. Now, those are face-to-face kind of approaches to backdoor retailing. You also have an electronic approach where, if your store, if you can have an electronic, full-functioning store on the internet, you're not dependent on the walk-in traffic off Main Street. You can tap anybody in your state, the country, the world. If you're interested in backdoor retailing, you can follow up. I wrote a larger article at my blog site, the Downtown Curmudgeon. Niches, again, are even more important now because these are specialty needs. And with their specialty needs, they often will, pressure in against price concerns. And these can be clothing and foods for specific religions or ethnic groups, locally manufactured or grown products like artisanal cheeses. Well, you guys up in Vermont know a lot about that. Pottery, etc. Senior population is growing exponentially almost, and they have a lot of special needs. But I haven't seen anybody really come up with a great strategy of dealing with the senior population, especially with the boomers entering into this. This is a challenging area. People continue to like to spoil, as I said before, children and pets, and cocooning, spending time more at home, dollars for family theaters, family rooms, kitchen improvements, that sort of thing. That's another area to look for a niche. But there are still others, and in your own town, if you look, you look really hard, I think you will find them, or can find them. Now, we're a great believer in store apostles. And store apostles are the folks that are your shoppers. They frequently come to your shop. They spend a lot of money in your shop. And best of all, they go out and they tell their friends and neighbors and family about your shop. They are the ones that spread the word of mouth about you and your store, etc. And I think this is the best kind of marketing there can be. You get them most of all by having appealing merchandise, and in many areas you need fresh merchandise. You can't have stale inventory because otherwise there's no reason for them to come back to your store. Apostles are created face-to-face, and they involve a personal relationship. They then can be reinforced electronically, and I think that's an important distinction. I think in most small and medium downtowns, the key things are face-to-face relationships, and then you can use the electronics as a communication megaphone, a communications device. Again, customer service is important. An attractive store environment. Some people use pampering amenities like espresso coffee or getting tickets to events or what have you. Now, while the electronic media can be a real asset, you have to also be aware that you want to use them judiciously, because there's nothing as off-putting as getting a lot of messages too often that become more harassment than informative. And I was much taken by a story I saw in one newspaper about a gift store somewhere down south, I can't remember, and the owner brought in her store apostles to a fundraiser for the local hospital, and she invited also a customer prospect that she wanted to become more important customer prospects. And so what was happening at this event was, in the store on scene, the apostles were able to talk about, among other things, of course, how great that store was to the customers that were targeted for quote-unquote massaging. And it's important to use your apostles as key distributors redistributors of your electronic and face-to-face social marketing networks. To help retailers, downtowns today, I think, in responding to the deliberate consumer, you've got to do a lot of things. And retailers need a lot more market research and the skills to use. And they also are going to need bank loans or financial sources, resources. And as the downtown organization, I think, also has to be cognizant and aware of their responsibility of helping to maintain the non-retail downtown traffic, because increasingly downtown retailing feeds off of that non-retail traffic. And formal entertainments, I'll get into this in a little while, are weakening, and therefore some other substitutes are necessary. More retailers are going to be very stressed, and they will really have to get better training. And who is going to do that, and how will that be done if they can't leave their stores? And also, very importantly, margins are going to be more critical, and affordable rents, therefore, are going to be more critical. Now, downtown organizations can help merchants get more information, because the small stores often cannot have the money to do a lot of the research or the skill to do a lot of the research. And by aggregating the resources, and having some key person who's skilled in doing some market research, the downtown organization can be a source of helping the downtown merchants get the information that they need. And these can be simple lifestyle and demographic analysis. Surveys can be powerful, but they're often expensive if they're going to do well. But simply just getting mailing lists or with people with specific characteristics, like those who have incomes over 100 grand. I'm just using that as an example. Or folks who have gotten married, or people who belong to the Sierra Club, or who's bought a hybrid, who in your trade area bought hybrid cars. These can be really helpful in trying to identify types of customers. And there are other things, information tools that you can use that are not that expensive to obtain, and that are easy for the merchant to use. Now, financing is a whole complicated issue, and I think I've listed here some things to help the downtown organizations can do to help retailers get financing, but also I've put things on the other side of the equation. What can you do to help them reduce their costs? And so, on one hand, we're saying, get them in contact with banks that are still lending, or the government agency that facilitate lending. On the other hand, can you help encourage the local landlords to do balloon loans and encourage bulk buying? Now, I'm very concerned about these formal entertainments, and because entertainments are a key niche in many downtowns. And what we've had is that the attendance at these venues have decreased in recent years, according to an NEA study, a very large one. And a lot of these organizations, symphonies and museums, etc., are facing very key financial troubles. And the audiences are getting older, and as well, and college-educated people are attending less, and even the less educated people are attending even less than they did before. And I think that the real key to the future of helping to assure downtown traffic that retailers can benefit from are vibrant public spaces that foster informal entertainments, and these can be also places that feature workers' entertainment. And these great places can be in like Rockefeller Center or Bryant Park in New York, or Mitchell Park in Greenport, New York, which is just a small town of 2,500. I think towns of all sizes can have this. Merchants need to be retrained, and I was talking to John Simon, who heads the Connecticut Main Street program, a couple of weeks ago, and what he reminded me in his communication to me was that it's really, really tough to get merchants out of their stores. And so it seems to me, well, if you can't get them out of their stores, then we've got to figure a way out to help retrain and train the merchants while they're in their stores or in their homes. And I have seen some wonderful training material that Boeing did years ago for their 767, 777 series that were on CDs. And you could practically go through the whole, peel away this massive airplane and understand how to maintain it, etc., fairly, easily because of these well put together CDs. And I've got to believe that our organizations like Downtown New Jersey, IEDC, National Main Street, you folks out in Wisconsin, somebody's going to come up with and can come up with materials that will be able to do that. And then the downtown organization can help to coach that, provide the coach for the retailers. And downtown marketing efforts. On a couple of visits recently to some downtowns, this old saw came back to me. I think the first thing you got to start with is you've got to get your merchants to stop bad-mouthing their district to shoppers and media. I can't tell you how many times I see that happening, and regardless of the recession or deliberate consumer, I mean, you've got to make sure that isn't happening in your downtown. I don't know if it is or not, but my recent experience with it forces me to raise it again. Okay, the second thing is I really think in most small and medium downtowns, the best marketing is done in-store, face-to-face, and it's a very personal thing. It's relationship building. And this involves, the relationship occurs within a context that involves merchandise, customer service, displays, storefronts, etc. One way, training merchants is admittedly a difficult thing, but I think a lot of organizations have to, downtown organizations have to acknowledge that market training is a marketing program in and of itself. And I think also that the downtown-wide, out-of-store experience that we do together as a downtown organization, a lot of those efforts have to be looked at once again. Loads of it I see is boilerplate or copycat. Seldom is there a discussion of whether the economic objectives are really being achieved. I mean, really, is it growing business? Is it improving sales, et cetera, et cetera? It's done because it has been done or somebody else is doing it. And I think the time has come when those are not good enough answers. I think we've got to look at new ways of doing things. Yes, we've got to look at integrating the new electronic media and opportunities. But at the same time, what we also have to understand is that most merchants, small and medium downtowns, they don't have the time, the skills, and the resources to maintain a complex web experience. And so the question is, how can they be helped? What kind of electronic life, commercial life can they have? I think this is